Yeah, she caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth. You know me, I don't play by rules. She was run in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. She caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth, but you know me, I don't play by rules. But she was running in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. Okay, first things first, like I gotta take the red light. I can tell it was my shorty by the headlights. To my side piece, stuck if she ain't tryna lose her head. When I get home, I'll be pitting by the bed like, baby, it ain't what it looks like, you was tripping. I ain't even see you look right, how you figure? I was lying on my teeth so I could save me. When she told me you can't pay me. And here she comes, riding around in my car with someone else. And I can't blame her 'cause I play myself. And on that bed, girl, she don't give up. She caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth. You know me, I don't play by rules. But she was running in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. She caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth, but you know me, I don't play by rules. But she was running in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. And I hate it 'cause I wanna be a player, but my relationship gon' be the one to take the time. So I say wildin', you are silent. But here she comes, riding around in my car with someone else. And I can't blame her 'cause I play myself. I think I gotta find me someone else. She caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth. You know me, I don't play by rules. But she was running in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. She caught her run in my coupe. Shawty might cut me loose. Shawty might want the truth, but you know me, I don't play by rules. But she was running in my coupe. I know she saw it too. Pretty little thing, she gon' find a new dude, so I better stop wildin' out. sleeping by my side. Lost in hazy, sleep deprived, losing pieces of my mind. Stuck, I can't turn back time. Yeah, it feels like better days. Now I sit and waste away. Watch my lips slowly decay. Bury me. Me for the extracts, I'ma smoke a pound of it. Need a want something to rap, stare into the burning blaze. The clouds only fill my days. All I feel is rage. No escaping from this maze. Cannot wait to find the grave. Hope this is my saving grace. Hope I can just rest in peace. Throw my body in the flames. Some days I feel so insane. Infamous up in my lane. Acid test with my membrane, and I still don't feel the same. Yeah, so all my movies from before I'm putting stuff in my when I've been through it, I'm about to go lose it, I'm about to go get it, get right to the hills, I completed the mission. So the mission about my addiction, I love the addiction, and you know I really consider my feelings, I give up. Yes, I'm working, I ain't giving up. Never have my wrist up, what did it get twisted? When I'm on the left, it's steady rolling up. Getting it, keep speaking the truth, and I won't get it to us. I learned more of my flow was a difference, I said it, but they get my feelings still, I'm not feeling golden. It's like I was my heart is so deep in the ocean. Waste no time, death is creeping by my side. Lost in haze and sleep deprived, losing pieces of my mind. Stuck, I cannot turn back time. Yeah, it feels like better days. Now I see them waste away. Watch my lips slowly decay. Waste no time, death is creeping by my side. Lost in haze and sleep deprived, losing pieces of my mind. Stuck, I cannot turn back time. Yeah, it feels like better days. Now I see them waste away. Watch my lips slowly decay. No time, death is creeping by my side. Lost in haze and sleep deprived, losing pieces of my mind. Stuck, I can't turn back time. Yeah, it's like better days. Now I see the waste away. Watch my lips slowly decay.
Hey everyone, I would like to welcome you on 15th edition on JavaCon online Java Meetup. And today we will be presenting you as a Polish community of Java enthusiasts. We associate programmers and programmers in middle and senior profiles. We organize stationary events and online events. And as you can see, for people who weren't even with us on our stationary events, there is some photos. Please join us in the future whenever we are back after the COVID pandemic. It's a lot of fun, and presentations are more social, I feel. And we, as our community, we are in social medias on our Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us and give us a like. There is a lot of information about events we are creating, and you can follow that for more information. Our main sponsor for today's event is firma Luxoft. Luxoft is a DEC technology company. And we are also available on Meetup. And our today's presenter is David Santana. He's our star, and he's IT project manager master with 40 years of work experience and over 18 years of university studies. He is a professional with 3 master degrees specializing in technological project management, software construction, project management with Canadian PMI annotation, and IT management. His presentation will be about 3+ elements in Java and why Java is still powerful in 2021. And please ask questions below during the presentation. So we will be asking David about that after his show. And during the event, there is a competition for you. So please send your, there is a link in the description, so you can follow that and ask the simple question. I hope it's simple. And you can win a Jabra Elite Active 65T or a Xiaomi Mi Band. And the sponsor of those rewards is Luxoft company. And the winner will be presented just after the show, so please stay in at the end. And there is a contact for us. Please, if you have any questions for us or want to join us in the future as sponsors or partners. And right now, please, David, I will I will share your screen and there is your presentation. So enjoy the event. Bye.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Can you hear me right?
Yes.
Super. Let me start. So, hello everyone. Nice to see you all here again, now virtually. Today we are going to present the three plus elements in Java and why Java is still a powerful technology in 2021. As we have heard before, I've been in the market for quite few time. So I have experience for 15 years of different projects in 6 different countries. And with the most important companies, at least I have had the majority of my career done. Today we are going to hold the presentation in English as a way to broaden the knowledge about our Java community. And today we are going to be here with DXC Luxov and the JavaCon to talk one specific topic about why Java is still relevant in 2021 and what are these three elements we should consider. More about the expectations of the presentation is basically let's going to have an interactive session. So it's not about presenting some data and that's all. I would like to hear your questions, also your perceptions, your ideas, your experiences, and so on, because that's how we construct the community in here. If you want to reach me out, then you will find me also in Facebook, email, and Twitter, also here via LuxUpDXC and so on. So remember, everything we are going to see here depends on our point of view. What I'm going to present is just my point of view, but I hope to cover different boundaries presenting this information for you. So I'm not going to focus only in, yeah, okay, if these are the perspectives from Java based on the specific project I am now or the specific projects I have been, but also about how the industry is moving around, what we, the professionals that are working with Java, are moving around, the academy and the companies and the government, and what are, more or less what are the perceptions around. So I will invite all you all to open your mind to different perceptions in here. Let's discuss openly about Java, the features, the problems, the key factors, and so on, without just lying about anything here. So let's be just friends here in a fresh conversation and let's talk about software projects. Yeah. So first, to put all of you in context, this lecture was based on previous lectures in DXC. So once I remember we were having these lectures at the end of the university of university studies in, in Wrocław, and there was some students there and they were wondering, but actually why I need to learn Java if Java is an old language, or should I learn Java? I mean, it's still relevant. It's very important now. Maybe Python, maybe I don't know, Go, or I don't know. So I remember at that time in the year 2000 when I was learning C++ at the university, I was wondering exactly the same about Java, but in the other way around. I was thinking, oh, Java is actually too new. Should I jump into that new language or not? Because at the moment, C and C++ are more or less the robust environments or programming languages. So to open that discussion 21 years later, then I think the point of starting should be to define what is the software project. So we need to remember that when we are building software, what we are trying to achieve here is not only to use different tools, but to have a purpose of building something useful for us in our companies, for us in the community, for us as a tool for leverage our own work, and so on. So I'm going to put here some examples about Java projects in some fake idea that I usually are using in this kind of conference. That is the Acme company. Unfortunately, today we have had a problem with my laptop, so my laptop is damaged and I just need to skip some parts here, but everything will be fine, and we will continue the discussion. If I cannot present everything here, then we will have a second part later. So don't worry about it. So regarding these programming languages, I remember that people during the few years, recent years in 2000s, 2005, 2010, they were always talking about, yeah, let's maybe learn Objective C, let's maybe learn Visual Studio, let's maybe retry or relearn old school languages like COBOL or Perl or Ruby and so on. Then I was wondering why some people are wondering which language should they learn. And then I remember this idea that I hear in one of the Java conferences, that was the 15 minutes of fame. And each programming language is usually going through this, how this is called, the expectation curve. And then when you have a new technology, everybody's talking about that, but actually no one is understanding that. Then there are a little bit of mature in this process, and then the people realize, oh, this is useful or not, and then the people have some deceptions there, let's say disappointments, and then they never come back, or the technology gets stable and then continue with a steady step. So the first question that I have here for you, and then we are going to, of course, introduce in this and in the next session, is how strong or useful do you think Java will be by 2025? So in 4 years, do you think that Java will be in the top 10? I mean, do you think that Java is going to be a relevant language for projects or only for legacy projects? You think that maybe not even for legacy projects, or maybe not anymore in the top? So let us know in the comments, in the chat, in the social networks. What do you think about it? Because this is quite interesting for us to know what our public is thinking about. Second question is maybe, what is your favorite language in 2021? So right now, what is this language that you consider, okay, this is the language that I should focus on? So for example, Java, Python, C Sharp, JavaScript, or any other. So let us know that. Also in the professional sphere, what is the language that you will trust the most for your business as usual? So usually we have, yeah, these experimental projects. Also at the academy, we have some ideas of how to build the future and so on. But when we go to the industry, into the real business, then usually we have these bow tasks. So which language is this one that you think in the future will be still there? And regarding a bit of the organization and the structure of Java, what do you think about Java? Do you think it is overrated? Do you think that maybe Java is just like a corpus C++, like it's highly bureaucratic? You think that maybe the syntax is just similar to C and C++, but all in all, it's very difficult to create software based on Java? So with these questions in mind, then we can go and think, okay, is this then the language that I consider still relevant in 2021? Should I focus on this? Of course, in this community, it's quite clear that we all love Java, but let's think about the people that are still deciding whether they should join Java or not, and why and when, right? So based on the projects that I have been, and also on my peers, we have realized that there are plenty of problems that we can face in the software development. These are common problems. We are solving it little by little, but sometimes we think this is based on the programming language. Sometimes we think maybe this is an issue with the language. Maybe because this software is made in Java. Maybe because of the way that I'm coding. Maybe because of the IDE, because of the framework, because of the containers, and so on. But no, there are plenty of patterns that you will realize are having the same impacts or negative effects over and over and over in the projects, no matter what language are you using. So if you are junior, or if you are starting in this industry, you need to know that there's few things that are happening most of the time are very difficult to control, but they are not 100% related with the language itself. So in this graphic that we have seen many times, we can understand that at the end, the important is to fulfill the need of the customer, which was to have actually a place where he can he or she can bounce close to the tree. We just have different phases from the initial design to the very end result, let's say. And this is how the software is actually going. Usually we have a project to identify some elements or to create some platform. We start with one design, we start to move, we use different tools, we change or we rearrange our teams, but at the end important is to get the result. So today I'm going to not show you what is in the books, yeah, because I can send you the links, but more what I have seen with my colleagues in the software industry regarding the Java and how Java could be, or what elements of Java could be these important elements that let us think to that Java is actually a mature and still relevant technology. So if we go to the software crisis, something that we discussed in previous lectures, remember that we were talking about the when or how often the projects of software were actually well built with good requirements on time and with the right technologies. And we realized that since 1950s till 2021, this gap is still too little. So it's still 7% what we consider a perfect project. And if we add these that are often delivered but not 100% compliant, it's max 20%. So there are still at 80% that face some challenges, and there are even a 45% of the software projects that are never taking place, which is still high number for an industry that is already more than 50 years in the market. I know that compared to other industries like engineering, civil engineering, medicine, and plenty other, then 50 years is nothing. But from our perspective as a software industry or as a software developers, 50 years is a lot. It's the transition from the transistor and the assembly till right now machine learning and artificial intelligence, cloud computing, etc. Okay, so first thing we need to know is don't be naive, recognize what is real for you, and work on your premises. This means if you are working in a project which is basically, let's say, programming oriented, and all of your team members are, I don't know, working on Java language, Java frameworks, and Java structures, and they have been done that for a long time, the answer is quite easy for you. Java is still relevant for you, and it will be still for you if you continue in that organization because that's that's the context you are in. Thing that you need to remember is that programming languages like Java, for example, are going to give you these facilities that behind the scenes are going to do a lot of things for you that maybe you cannot see. For example, this portability that we have talked about previously. For example, the security, for example, robust interfaces, data types, etc. But you also need to remember that if you choose Java, but you actually don't know if you need it, or if you actually don't design for it, or if you actually don't have the knowledge or the framework or the whatever, then anything that you put in is going to have the same quality at the result. So if you put garbage into the Java platform, Java is not going to create gold for you. So basically, you have to learn what you are doing, but you don't need to do it. You can also not go to the path that you have to think, okay, I'm going to be perfect in Java before I start the project because done is always better than perfect. And also don't fall for the best of breed paradigm that is, oh, let's try always the last thing or the trendy topic because this is also not going to help when you are using Java. For example, Java is not a language that is following the trend all the time. Java is a stable language that is following what is most important for the industry little by little, like slow but steady. While there are many other languages that are appearing as soon as a new word, buzzword is appearing in the industry. Okay, let me check if you have some comments here, questions or something. Dzień dobry. Ta, ta, ta. Java will be in the top three. Okay, we will check the questions and answers later about the initial questionnaire. Okay, super. So let's continue. First rule to understand if a language is useful for us is get and follow a proper architecture assessment. Sometimes what you need to do is not even a software. Sometimes what you need to do is just recommend a Excel or a database or Notepad. The first thing that you need to know before you even select a programming language is actually this project a software project? Do we actually need this? Is there a third party solution that perhaps we already have in place, a license that we already bought? For example, let's suppose that someone say I want to save all the name of my customers and the telephone of them. So maybe the best suggestion is okay, so just buy a cell phone which has already inbuilt Android properties and then just save it there. Then you don't need to create a software for that, right? So do not invent the wheel again. For that, we need to have a proper architecture, and these early decisions have the higher impact in the projects. And also, we need to measure everything that is happening inside of our team all the time, every single metric. Why? Because before we are selecting language, we need to understand what is the knowledge of our technical team, our techies, and how can we facilitate the task for them. So maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was a bit easy to be a full stack developer because the technologies, the frameworks, and the IDs were not that heavy, not that much, and they did not have that impact that they have today. So there was this possibility that one person was able to actually set up the platform, do the deployment, code, test, distribute, and so on, because the requirements, the client, the expectations, they were not that high. But nowadays there are every day thousands of libraries, new technologies, new paradigms, new customer expectations. Everything is moving so fast that you cannot learn. The tech is to be all over the place trying to learn what they cannot learn at the same time. So tip number one to know if Java is still relevant for you is understand your market. So let's go for the index. One thing is what we can think out here about the community, what I can think about the language, but let's go to the facts, let's go to the communities. We check the ranking since 1994 that Java was born. Till today, Java has always been in the top five and usually in the number one position. And this is not actually random. This is something that makes totally sense if we consider what are the type of projects that Java is covering. So if we check the index, C, Java, Python, C++ have been in the last positions in JavaScript for the past 5 to 10 years. And if we consider, for example, that the software industry is an industry of 50 years and Java is already there 25 years, we can say that Java is a technology that is still not, let's say, archaic in the sense that we need to bring a lot of backwards compatibility to our projects, but it's also not new that we are not so sure if we can proceed or not with this language. So if you check, for example, the share of Java inside of the people index is still in the number two. You see the TOB here and the PPL here. In both of them, they are the one and two. If you check Stack Overflow and if you check Oracle, IBM, if you check most of the Google, Facebook, and so on, in all of these rankings, Java are still in the top five. It also changed a bit between countries, but if you go, for example, to the number one market of technology in production of software, you will see that for them is the number two. Yeah. So with this more than 25 years, we can think, okay, maybe Java is relevant, but the problem is where I should start or how can I find these elements that make Java different than Python or JavaScript or C++ or something like that. And here there is also a concern that it was a bit different in my time. So in the year 2000, when we were trying to learn a new language, the problem was where I can find enough information for that. And in 2021, the question is there are so much information where I can find a proper, simple, or fast information to learn, or the most relevant. Yeah. So my advice is go to the source. Remember, Java was a community opened by Sun. Then after that was taken by Oracle, but it's still the same community. They changed only the labels. So if you go directly to the Oracle Java Learning community, for example, you will see the portal where you can find at least in the official documentation where is the direction that the Java community is going. Actually, I'm not so sure. I was checking this link few months ago, but they are usually creating new how do we call it, events where you can get vouchers or yeah promos of the exam or the official training for 80% discount, 90% discount, and so on. Also, they have also compilations of the editions each time a new release of the Java JDK is done. They create a new book for that, and usually this compilation is made by the exactly same people that are creating the language or supervised by those that were the reference of the language for the past 15 years. So I will recommend you also this Java, the complete reference 11 edition in this case, and these are good materials that you can save, read, and you don't need to go through the Google or Bing or whatever search engine you are using to find thousands of information that is maybe not useless or not useful or not deep enough. Another good material that I can recommend you are Coursera. So Coursera, we already discussed that about here in previous chapters, but Coursera regarding Java has really good specializations that are, if you go to LinkedIn, they are highly ranked, and if you go to the employees of most of the companies in the top 10 technology projects, you will see that these are highly valuable resources. Coursera has the advantage that you can access for free at least the materials, maybe the certifications not, maybe some of the contents not, but the initial materials for sure. And the University of Duke, for example, has the alliance with Coursera with this course called Java Programming and Software Engineering Fundamentals. This is highly recommended. As you can see, more than 12,000 rates have been done there. Also, Princeton University, they also have this um algorithms is called algorithms and structures, if I don't recall. And then you will have sorry, this is not correct here. And then you will have Google Cloud. Actually, they are also sponsoring to Coursera this build scalable Java microsystem Spring Boot and Spring Cloud. And in here you can find a lot of resources. I check actually in July, and the Google Cloud Initiative were sponsoring not only the materials, they also were offering some vouchers for the certification. And if I don't recall, they were giving also a way to access directly to some internship or something like that to continue learning with them. So this is a good way to know that Java is still relevant because the big players are still betting on the language. If we go directly to the frameworks, we will see, and the idea is, for example, we will see the evolution of the frameworks a lot. Being my favorite, of course, IntelliJ idea, but you have plenty of flavors to choose, um, and you have plenty of frameworks also. This in here, maybe you have to be careful because the frameworks are, let's say, a tool or a yeah, yeah, it's a tool. It's a way to support the way we construct the software, but it changes with the requirements and with the libraries of the software. So sometimes the frameworks are very useful, but you get too attached to the framework, and the frameworks die way earlier than the language. So, for example, I recall the time of struts and JSF. They were supposed to be forever there, but 2021, no one is talking about the struts and JSF, for example. There is a new way to create the enterprise application interfaces and so on. And web frameworks are usually good, I mean, in general, but you have to be careful and learn or focus on the language. Let me check if we have any questions at the moment. Dun, dun, dun. Can you share those links in the description or the chat? Yeah, I can forward the presentation later. Mhm. Okay. Here they say in the chat there is the link to the concourse of Luxoft. So in the chat you can find that in the careerluxoft.com. In the LinkedIn of DXC, you can also see a lot of Java positions. That's also good. You can find there a lot of projects to find to explore with the Java language. Okay, so now let's go to the most popular backend frameworks in between 2012 and 2019, for example. And you can see that from all the, let's say, from all the most important frameworks in the world, most of them, if not all of them, are related with Java. Even .NET, when you see the history of the transformation of .NET at the beginning, they were basically based on the same structures and patterns of Java. And if you still check, they at the moment the two communities are very close together. So each time the .NET community is releasing a really nice technology or way to do something, then this is incorporated in Java and vice versa. From the perspective of mobile, IoTs, and so on, you can see that Java is still very high ranked with 97.5 appreciation here, having a broad scope. So basically, you can find web applications in Java, mobile applications, basically each Android is Java, IoTs, and so on. Uh, and now let's go into understand the paradigm. So when we are thinking, okay, but Java fits every single thing, like it's a one size for everything, then here you have to be very careful because the fact that Java is a good language doesn't mean that it's the perfect language for absolutely everything. Sometimes you don't even need to build software, but some other times you don't even need to build an object-oriented programming or aspect-oriented programming or I don't know, artificial intelligence. You need to check what are the requirements of your software. How much time do you have to build your software? What is the architecture of your software and what is your knowledge on that software? So if you are looking for strong data types, a lot of libraries, some technology that is following the new trends like machine learning, data analysis, big data, and so on, then yes, of course, you can select a very robust language like Java. But if you are just trying to build a website that quickly shows some information and images and I don't know, go to a database, maybe you can just go for a framework that is already implemented with this, uh, I don't know, combined modules, PHP and MySQL or something like that. So you need to think, what is the scope of my application? What is the paradigm that I'm using? Is it imperative? Is it object oriented, parallel, procedural, declarative? Is it more like database approach oriented, functional programming, and so on? Good thing here about Java is that Java is always evolving with most of the most important paradigms without losing backwards compatibility. This is very difficult to achieve in almost any other language, programming language. Here, if you want to construct Java still object-oriented programming, pure object-oriented programming, you can do it. If you are more aspect-oriented programming, you can also do it in Java. If you like functional programming, you can use that in Java as well. So the language has evolved a lot, and this is good, but at the same time, it's very difficult to catch up with the language. So that's one of the reasons we were mentioning before that protect the time of your techies. It's very difficult for your techie to know all the languages, all the sorry, all the libraries of Java for each specific paradigm. For example, let's talk about the platform independency. So this is one of the first things that we were hearing from Java since 2001, I guess, or since 2002, even the specification 1.3, this Merlin specification. They were always proud of saying, yeah, this is this Wora principle, write once, run anywhere. But what they didn't count in there is that nowadays the applications are so complex that the layers they have create some dependencies and some specific configuration. There are some pipelines there to organize, and it's not like write it once, run everywhere. You have to check, okay, but who is going to do the deployment? How we are going to save our systems? What are the platform behind? Who is going to create the scripts, the configurations, the workflows for the containerization, and so on? This is part of the software, and this could be assisted by Java, but it's not part of the Java itself. So one thing that you need to understand is not like, okay, I like Java because if I learn Java, I don't need to learn any other thing. This is not true, because if you want to, for example, create Dockerization, then you need to learn also Docker, not only Java. Of course, with through Java, you can do a lot of things and automate a lot of things as well, but you need to understand these other concepts, for example. And now let's talk about the reasons that are maybe not technical, but for the new commerce to this industry is very important to know. The first one that I could see as an advantage of using Java and why Java is still relevant is the patience that you get. In this industry, you will see that no matter the language you choose, you're always going to have issues. There is always some specification that is not correct. There is always some customer that did not represent the requirements on time, or that is in a hurry, or a bug that appears somewhere, a library that was not complete, the guru that quit the job and then you have to replace it. I mean, there are thousands of possibilities that the project is going to be at some point burning, but this is fine. You will learn to work under this environment, and with Java you will have a lot to do because Java has a huge community full of examples how to handle this kind of issues. For me, it was very frustrating at the very beginning when I was switching to other languages and I had a problem. Then I have to go to Stack Overflow, and at the time that was not even Stack Overflow. And there was answers maybe 3 months later, 4 months later. I mean, useful answers. Yeah. With Java, we have the advantage that as it is so used, maybe your problem for your company is brand new, but the problem all around the world in any of the industries that are using Java is very common. And if you, for example, go to Metalink in Oracle, they have already, for the products of Oracle, of course, but in general, they have already cataloged what type of projects occur with what type of technology. So you can do this certification matrix analysis and say, each time that you have an AX400 and you're using this virtual machine with this specific version of Java and try to use or access this specific IoT resource, you will have this bug. This kind of knowledge is quite useful because it will save you time when you are creating your architecture, or if you haven't noticed, you can save time later and say, oh, now I get this bug. Now I check that I could have seen this bug. What I should do now. So the patience that you develop when you are working with Java, it's amazing because there are plenty of projects all around the world. Here there is a trick that maybe some people confuse here, and it's okay. If there are so many projects all around the world, then I can be a digital nomad, right? And then the people imagine the digital nomad as a person that can just travel all around the world and do the projects one day here, one day go to Germany, one other day go to Spain, and so on. But it's not that easy as to go to the beach and start to work in the middle of the beach, right? Because you need to find the libraries, the community, and the resources on time. So yes, it's true. You can be a digital nomad, and you can with the software industry, you can work everywhere, especially with Java projects because they are all around the world. But you need to know that you have to consider elements like internet, like for example, my laptop is broken, so I have to have a spare laptop. In case of the deployment is failed, in case of the VPN is not accessible from that land, do I have a way to connect? Do I have a second protocol? Do I have a plan B? These kind of things. If you are also thinking, okay, why Java is still relevant, you can go, for example, to the market and see how much do an engineer earns. Depends on the experience, of course, in the different positions for different languages. And if you see, for example, Java is still in the top, even in the average salaries by language, Maybe in the first years of experience, not, because Java is so wide that for you to learn the enough amount of technologies or libraries inside of Java to be considered a useful junior, it takes more time than for you to do the same in JavaScript or in Python or in any other of these languages. But it's still, if you check, still the salaries are very close. But if you go to the senior side, then Java is still super relevant in this case. A Java engineer with a senior experience becomes more salary usually than any other language. And you can think, yeah, yeah, but if I'm learning this specific new language that tomorrow someone is inventing, I'm going to earn not 65K, but 250K. That's true, but how many projects of that will you have in the world? How many companies will offer that? With Java, you don't need to think about these rarities. You have these kind of projects all around the world, and you more or less know what is the market expectation. So if you are also non we are also thinking in a non-technical perspective, and you see think, okay, for me, I love Java, but if money is important, then let me tell you that with Java it's still good to follow. uh, we also have a big community, and I'm not only talking about the official Oracle community, which is big because it's sponsored by big players, but I'm talking also about the OpenJDK, the JetBrains, the community that is doing the IDE. Even other big companies are having their own communities: DXE, IBM, the Eclipse Foundation, Apache Foundation, um, and the even the fathers of Java. They usually have their own channels, and they are presenting their own specification. If you check even Kotlin, .NET, and all other let's say important languages are highly connected to Java, and the development there is also the development here. At the end of the day, if the programming languages share the same paradigm, you are only you're all of you are developing the same features. So this is actually something that you can see in the Java community. If you want to see, okay, how active is the Java community and who is contributing the most in these communities, you can see that this is not a random effort from random people when they have free time, which was the idea at the beginning of Java, but this is more like organized communities of organized people, and they try to solve a lot of issues and create and update these libraries on time. I highly encourage you to join one or two of these communities, and you will see the development of the language is going to the goal that you are waiting, or to the path that you are waiting in the new technologies. For example, some engineers were asking about the data science path. Is Java going in that direction, or big data, or how I'm going to do the reduction for big data, or machine learning, or business intelligence, even blockchains, cryptocurrencies, and so on. Yes, Java is going in that direction. If you check in the community, you will see that actually the SRs, the software requirements, and the way that the new releases are thought, are thinking in those new technologies on the what is going to move the world. And when the robots come, I'm pretty sure that Java will be there, because IoT is also growing a lot. And now let's go to the plus, and it's of course the most important one. I just put it at the end. The technical reason. Technical reason is basically Java is still super robust. Documentation is flawless. I mean, it's quite clear with strong data types what is a function doing, what you can expect. If you check, for example, banks, 90% of the banks are working with Java. It means that either they are all betting in the wrong software, and it will be a work catastrophe, or actually the language gives you this feeling of trust or of security that you can build new elements based on this Java. And Jakarta EE is the example of that. Jakarta EE, as you may know, is the evolution of what we called before the Java Enterprise Edition. Now it's Jakarta EE. It's a separate community of the Apache Jakarta group. There you can see the evolution of the language, and you will see that plenty of new features. No, new cool features are there. You just need to know that even if you take these new paths, you can always go back in Java, in Java, because this backward compatibility. This is also something that you are not going to find that easily in any other language. That you can build still in 2021 with the 2021 software solutions for maintain the solution of 1999 or 2005 or 2007, because Java allows this backward compatibility. Of course, with the specific cases it's not possible anymore, but in general you can always keep updated your software without being so stressed. Okay, so now let's deep into the technical features, but let's go for the chat for a second. Why do you think about Java sets up on the market and is it worth it? For example, Oracle One, okay. Could be Java partially removed from seen by JS solutions like Node.js? No, wait. How was Java popularity influenced by Google choice of Kotlin as the language of Android? Yeah, okay. Those are really good questions. So, mm, let's try to solve some of them, and we continue with the presentation because we have only 10 minutes. But let's go for the first one. I don't understand this one about Java certs ABV market. Can you please, Michał, explain a bit more your questions there about the certs? In the meantime, can be Java partially removed from the scene by JS solutions? So when we are talking, for example, Node.js, and when we are talking about front end, and when you check horrible things in Java like AWT or the way that we were building before the graphical interfaces or applets or something like that, yes, of course, you think like it's disgusting the way that Java is doing that. But if you check JavaFX and if you check the compatibility or the way that we are working now with the front end, you will see that they are actually complementary technologies. You will see that the Node.js, for example, or in general front end technologies are going to provide this graphical interface that is going to be connected to the API. There is a conference here in JavaCon that explains that very well. And then the Java can do the backend perspective or the transaction perspective, or you can actually support that on a middleware, an application server, and then use event delivery network to bring the packages and distribute the task. So in general, it's not that Java is partially removed from some place. It's just that Java is not one thing. Java is like a compound of things, and some of them are disabled or not that popular for some time, or some others are robust for that specific time. Maybe in the future, when we will have more robot interfaces and then not any more front end, maybe some new functionalities appear and consume the previous functionalities of Java. But the compatibility backwards allows you to keep working on the interfaces without any problem. So I think that if Node.js takes the front end, and in general, if the JavaScript solutions take the front end, this is not a problem for Java. Actually, Java is thinking about that. If you check the specification, Java 13 and 14, you will see that the way that we are working with the APIs have been improved a lot, and the way we are connecting to the front interfaces are also. If you are working with PHP or with Python, you will see that in Java there are plenty of frameworks that are going to allow you to connect to that. And also, hello, can you hear me still? Oh, I think you cannot hear me anymore. Give me a moment. Thank you very much. Yes, we do. Thank you very much. So,
David, we can hear you too.
yes, just that appeared the message here. You are disconnected. But now I see that it's okay. And the certifications, how Java popularity influence Google. Yes, of course. For example, things like Kotlin, things like even the advances of .NET. The people sometimes thinks of Java and .NET like demon, like devil and God or something like that. But actually, the popularity or the advances in one of these technologies are actually helping the second one. At the very beginning, if you see Visual Studio, when it was not .NET, I mean, that was not a very robust programming language. And when you see Visual Studio .NET now, it's a very mature programming language and it's based on the patterns of Java. But if you check the evolution that has, for example, the Visual Studio Code and in general the Visual Studio community or the .NET community, many of these features were, let's say, yeah, top or new or top notch, let's say, and Java just analyze that and incorporate that in the release of the next feature of Java. So here I will recommend you to go to the journal dev or to the Oracle Technology series. There you can see like a compilation of what are the most important features that you need to know per each of the releases of Java. So for example, if you go to Java 8 and okay, Java 8 is already super old, but I'm just giving you the example. When you were in Java 8 and you were thinking, okay, I would like to stop doing this, um, yeah, object-oriented programming of one block, and I would like to think more functional. Java 8 enabled for the first time those functionalities in Java, bringing these other, let's say, developers to the Java language to try this paradigm. What I'm trying to say here is that most of the time, new languages appear to solve one specific paradigm, and Java is not going there immediately because the community needs to assess how useful is this to bring the whole community in there or not. So there are plenty of new topics, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conference, and Java cannot just follow each of them. Think of Java like a I don't know, like a big spaceship. Yeah, you cannot move there everywhere like you move these scooters here, right? You need to be careful where are you going to move your language because you have a community of thousands of developers, millions of projects, and plenty of industries following you. So you need to be very selective what kind of paradigms are you going to choose or follow. So here, as you can see, for example, you will have the REPL, the JShell, these new methods to work with the parallelization world. The way that we are building software now in Java is the way that we are typing it and running is faster than any other moment in the history of Java. Before we need to memorize thousands of lines to do simple things. That was one of the highest critics against Java and one of the first entry points for other languages. This has been reduced a lot with each release of Java. Now we have this modularization, private methods interfaces, and so on. Unfortunately, in this laptop, I mean, in my backup laptop, I have not the tools to show you these functionalities. So next time we will show this JShell and these other solutions. But you will see that now you can create Java in a very simple way. You can create flows, you can create parallelism, you can control concurrency, you can do graphical interfaces, API consumptions, and so on with simple words. You can even have these completable features. You can even it's inside of the parallelism create a workflow and say, okay, I'm going to run this parallelism, and if in the future this solution appears, then take this path, and if not, take this other route, even that there is a thread, and even it's not finished yet, you can work on that. You can handle the resources much better, not only the modularization, but also the control of the resources. Still, Java in this sense is, for me, my perspective is opening a bit too much for the control of the machine. So it's a bit close to C++ in the sense that now we can, for example, try or not try, we can now access the operating systems directly. We can now, let's say, control a bit low level elements like kind of IoT and so on. But this is also this door is perfectly fine for the community, but this also give us with more questions of how we should handle these resources. We are now able to go directly to the operating system. We are now able to create directly the threads in there. If we are now controlling the file system, if we can control the NAS, we can control different elements directly from Java. So when the responsibility starts, when we should control these resources, when we should close it, how strong we should protect them, and so on. these were questions that in the previous features or no releases were not actually a concern, because we will say, okay, we are not going to allow that, and the virtual machine is going to protect this, and that's all. So the operations are going to be performed only in the virtual machine. So the community has seen that, and they say, okay, now that the Java features are opening more, we need to have more controls and libraries to keep that in place. So you will see, for example, try with resources, the daemon operators, a lot of modularity elements and improvements there, aggregations. You can now create your own JDK, more or less, to keep only the functionalities you need, to run only the modules you need, to hide the parts of your model that you don't need to the others to see. This is evolving a lot, and this is giving Java again an advantage over other language, most of the other languages, of course. Streams, resources. Okay, I know that the time is over, so I will present this in the next session. The idea is that we can have the laptop running this example, so you can see how easy it is to create an HTTP, how easy it is to create a web server, and so on. What could be useful for you? These links, for sure, I will publish them, also the presentation, and you can change this. You can change. No, you can contact me directly. Of course, if you want by email, you can open the conversation in Twitter or here to the DXC Java channel. What is my idea? My idea here is that in this space we don't need to have just typical conversation, but just more like an interactive, that someone can say, yeah, actually check this out, there is new way to create a machine learning model. GPT-3 with Java can be done in this way. Or for example, I'm still using Hadoop for big data reducing because of this, or I'm using Kafka, or I'm using that or this. I think the idea is that we all can see that there are a lot of resources, but if we can share the key elements of these resources and debate a bit, I think that's for me the most important thing in this conference. I don't know. I meant the certification. I'm going to read here one of two comments because I have 3 more minutes. For the certification, for example, OCP. Yes. So if we are talking, for example, about this OCP, there was in the Java. Let me share the link. There was in the Java link community some event that they were promoting in different countries and universities. The materials of Java, and they were also giving the voucher from. The voucher is usually $200, and they were giving that in $20 or something like that. So you can get the OCP based on these materials, for example. Where do I have that? Here. So let me copy and paste this link for you. And paste in the chat the presentation. I will send it later, but maybe it's good for you to check that now. So yeah, you can get the OCP here. Comments. Add new comment. I cannot add comments. Okay. So can someone share the link that I just pasted there in the chat? Thank you. Okay, I think that's all for the presentation. Do you have any other question? Pavel, Shimon, there are questions there in the channels perhaps?
No, move.
Thank you, David. I think that's all of the questions, and thank you for handling that for us. Thank you, Michał, Dimitri, and Amadeusz for asking the questions, and thank you, everyone, for participating in our event. And there is a solution for our event competition. So Jabra Airbuds the winner is Leszek J. Leszek, are you with us on the stream? Please say something in the chat. And the winner for the Xiaomi band was Arkadiusz Z. Please respond to us in the chat also. And Logsoft company will be contacting with you with your emails. So please follow up your inboxes to take care of your rewards. Congratulations. And David, thank you very much for your excellent presentation and very interesting bits of the Java world. And thank you everyone for participating in today's event. And the company Logsoft for sponsoring today's presentation, event, and your time. I wish you a great evening and see you later. Bye.